As the system moves northeast toward New England, interaction with the southern stream will help spawn a secondary low somewhere south of New England. This low will strengthen and become the primary low. This system will likely crawl along in the Gulf of Maine or even retrograde westward for a time, leading to a prolonged event as blocking to the east will lead to a slow departure. The storm will likely track over Cape Cod, which is an ideal setup for rain and mixing in southern New England and snowfall across the mountains. This is not just true because it's now early April. If this track occurred in January, this would still be a similar result as what we're getting now. So, this event will be a long duration event starting off really on Wednesday evening, is when precipitation will fill in and the mountains will see snow likely continue into Friday morning. The bulk of the precipitation, both snowfall and rainfall, will occur from Wednesday evening through about midday Thursday, but again, precipitation will continue beyond that for a while, and additional accumulations are likely. So, intense snowfall rates of 1 to 2 inches an hour will be possible Wednesday night from the foothills of northern New England through the mountains. Mesoscale banding is likely to set up across northern New England, which mesoscale bandings, narrow bands of intense snowfall. These bands of snow will be needed in order to receive the amounts of snow expected. A majority of the accumulations will likely occur overnight Wednesday into Thursday morning, as I said. This is when the heaviest snowfall rates are expected for New Hampshire and Maine. This will aid in the higher snowfall totals occurring, as daytime accumulations can be hard to come by this time of year with a strong sun angle. Of course, at night, this feature is naturally lost. With that said, the jackpot zone with this storm continues to look like it will be across the White and Main Mountains, with the border between New Hampshire and Maine seeing the most. A wide swath of a foot or more of snow is looking likely in these areas, with the New Hampshire Lakes region also potentially getting into the foot plus zone if the track is right. When all is said and done, much of northern New England will likely have seen at least 6 inches of snow, with the exceptions being the Champlain Valley, the New Hampshire seacoast, and up into northern Maine, where lesser amounts are expected due to lighter snowfall and mixing issues. We're still watching for the possibility of a very sharp cutoff in snow totals across southern New Hampshire and along the immediate Maine coastline. The final track of this storm could push this cutoff either north or south, so it is something to watch closely as the storm develops as we move into the nowcasting portion of forecasting. Southern New England snow will likely be highly elevation based, with the northern Berkshires and northern Worcester Hills seeing the most, which will be far less than what is seen in northern New England. Bust potential from this system comes from the fact that it is now April. There are a plethora of things working against snowfall, including potential mixing, low snow ratios, warm ground conditions, and a strengthening sun angle. At this point, heavy snowfall rates do look to overcome much of this, but there are limiting factors that could potentially bust snowfall amounts. The areas with the greatest potential to underachieve will be the Green and White Mountains. The area with the greatest potential to overachieve would be southern New Hampshire. As always, the final track of the storm will play a large role in where the heaviest snow totals end up setting up. So, with rainfall for southern New England, the storm will be moisture loaded. This will be rung out as mainly a soaking rain for southern New England. A widespread 1 to 2 inches of rain is likely across all of southern New England. With this rain expected to fall over the course of 24 or more hours, flash flooding really isn't a concern, and flooding overall isn't a major concern with this system. River flooding will need to be watched, as several rivers could reach minor flood stage. The typical problem rivers could reach moderate flood stage, namely the Pawtuxet River at Cranston, Rhode Island. Again, the flood threat is not paramount with this storm. As far as the wind goes, a strengthening storm passing into the Gulf of Maine, with winds will become gusty with that setup. Winds will pick up as Wednesday goes on and will likely peak overnight Wednesday into Thursday morning for most. Winds will remain gusty all day Thursday, however. A low level jet with winds of 70 to 90 miles an hour will cross southern and central New England. As always, the question becomes how much of this can reach the ground. Of course, not all of that wind is going to make it to the ground, obviously. Just about all of New England will have a chance to see at least 40-mile-an-hour gusts, with the coast seeing gusts up to 50 miles per hour. Some of the higher elevations of southern New England could see some gusts over 50 miles per hour, and a downslope wind event is expected in the northern Berkshires and along the spine of the Green Mountains. Here, a narrow corridor of 60 miles per hour wind gusts are possible as a strong low level jet looks to develop over this area overnight Wednesday to Thursday. High wind watches are in effect for these areas as of Tuesday morning. These winds will likely cause whiteout conditions at times where there will be snow falling. So, power outages could potentially be a big issue with this storm. Snow will be of a heavier and wetter variety for most. The snow will stick to trees and likely cause broken branches and fallen wires. The one piece of good news here is that areas in the mountains where the most snow is expected will likely see a drier snow develop Wednesday night. Still, outages are likely. The gusty winds will only exacerbate the conditions, especially in the Green Mountains where that downslope wind event is expected. Coastal flooding is not a huge concern with this storm, but the potential is there. Eastern Massachusetts will face the highest coastal flood threat. A prolonged period of easterly winds and building waves in the Gulf of Maine will likely result in widespread minor coastal flooding with some pockets of moderate coastal flooding. This comes amid a general 2 to 3 foot surge. Minor coastal flooding and potentially moderate splashover will be possible across the entire New England coastline. Tides are not astronomically high, which certainly helps this situation.